and the crowd of reporters, photographers, and others that are gathered right there. That's where the spokesman for the court will be walking out to read the decision by Justice Martin and Clark. And as soon as that happens, we'll bring you the live picture and we'll carry it for you. And of course, we'll have many to talk with once that is read to talk about the outcome. Right now, though, as the political and legal wars rage in Florida, Vice President Al Gore is out at his White House office today. How much work he's getting done as Vice President? Let's ask Patty Davis about that, or whether they're standing by watching television up there as well. Patty?
Well, actually, he's done working now at his White House office. He is, we are told, headed back here to the official residence here in Washington, just about a 30-minute drive from downtown Washington. He is, of course, closely watching all of the developments in Florida. This Seminole County and Martin County case, the Gore campaign has said, taking pains to point out that they are not part of either of these cases. Certainly the vice president could benefit from positive rulings in both of these cases going his way. However, the really big case that they are watching, that they are still very optimistic about, is this contest action, the appeal of Gore's contest action in the Florida Supreme Court. The Gore campaign has said that the Florida Supreme Court will be the final decisive factor in this case, in terms of the contest, that it will not go ahead and appeal that to the U.S. Supreme Court. So much more focus being placed on that case than the Seminole and Martin cases, although those county cases could certainly help him if they go in his favor. Natalie.
Okay, Patty Davis, we'll wait and talk with you in just a moment. Once we learn the outcome again, expected in like about 4 minutes if they're on schedule this time. This, of course, has been delayed from 12:30 today, but we do expect it to happen in a matter of minutes. Texas Governor George Bush working at his office in the state capitol, where earlier today he expressed optimism. The latest now from CNN's Jean Meserve in Austin. Jean?
Natalie, the Bush campaign well aware of the implications and the importance of these court decisions down in Florida. Bush lawyers had already said that they would appeal the Seminole and Martin County absentee ballot cases if those should go against them. But today, Governor Bush was asked about the Florida Supreme Court case concerning the ballots in Dade and Palm Beach counties. He said if that decision goes against him, he will appeal that. He hopes it doesn't come to that, but he would appeal if that's necessary. He was also asked if all three of these cases go against one candidate or the other, should the loser concede. Here's what he had to say.
Each candidate is going to have to decide, make the decision that is best for the country. And the only thing I can tell you is how I think. You're going to have to ask the vice president how he thinks. Depending on the outcome of the courts.
Although Governor Bush did speak with Secretary James Baker, who's his point man on the ground in Florida today, about the legal maneuvering, most of his attention once again being devoted to transition. At the governor's mansion today, he met with his designated White House Chief of Staff, Andy Card, also with Karl Rove and Karen Hughes, two close campaign aides who are also expected to play a part in the White House staff. Bush said he was having some difficulty conducting formal interviews for cabinet positions while the election remains unsettled, but he expressed the hope that we're reaching a point of finality. Natalie, back to you.
And Jean, we know that yesterday David Boies got a call from Al Gore wishing him luck just before he went before the state Supreme Court. Has George W. Bush been that connected with his lawyers in Florida?
Natalie, I don't know the answer to that question. We do know that he has a conference call every day with Secretary Baker. We do know at one point he had called his lawyers down in Florida to congratulate them about one of their court performances, but I don't know if he's spoken to anyone in the last 24 hours. Natalie.
All right, Jean Meserve, thanks from Austin. Now over to Stephen.
Natalie, let's take one more look at the scene inside the Leon County Circuit Courthouse. There are the journalists hanging around for just a few minutes, hoping for an announcement. You can't see him because he's near that crowd, but our Gary Tuchman is working. Rather than standing around as these guys are, he's running around confronting every principal to this case he can encounter, including Judge Terry Lewis, with whom we had a conversation a moment ago. Let's find out if he's learned anything since then. Gary, are you with us?
Well, Stephen, we are with you. We're at another crowd on the third floor of the same courthouse building, where right now attorneys from all sides are meeting, and they are finding out as we speak the decisions in both these cases. We expect them at any minute to come outside these doors, and we do expect to find out very soon the decisions in the Seminole County case and the Martin County case. But as we speak to you, they are now learning the decisions themselves. They have been given that courtesy to find out before the rest of the world finds out. Stephen, back to you.
Now, Gary, that's a courtesy for them. Are they bound to keep that information quiet, or could they share it with you, for example, before anyone approaches the lectern upstairs?
Stephen, not if we can help it. We'll find it out before they get to the lectern. I can tell you that much. I am absolutely positive there will be no promise made to anybody inside that room that they can't tell people when they come out, because there are just so many of them it would be impossible to keep that promise. So I have a pretty good idea that we will have a good idea before they have their little news conference.
Good for you. Now, you noticed that Judge Lewis looked awfully relaxed when you had a conversation with him a couple of minutes ago. How about all these other principles to the case?
They are not so relaxed. As I said earlier, I think it's very notable. A lot of them have been very confident during this whole procedure, and that's what lawyers usually do. But as they've been walking into this office, they were very subdued. There's a lot of pressure. This is huge. It's historical. You're on the losing side of this. They're going to feel awfully bad, and that's why they're nervous.
And have you had any glimpses of Judge Clark, the judge who asked for a little bit extra time to work on her ruling?
Nope. Judge Clark we haven't seen all day. She's been working very hard, we understand. Judge Lewis we kind of accidentally ran into, but we haven't seen him since then. They are both now out of sight at this time.
And when you see these teams of lawyers moving about, Gary, are they the whole teams, which include dozens and dozens of lawyers, or just the heavy hitters who've been actually making the arguments?
Right now, the whole teams are in there. Everyone who's allowed in that office is going in. So there's at least 20 attorneys. We have attorneys from the Bush side. We have attorneys from Seminole County, from Martin County, from the Florida Republican Party, from the Secretary of State's office, representing absentee voters. The only attorneys who are not in this room are attorneys for Al Gore, because he was not an official party in either of these cases. They were Democratic plaintiffs, not the Democratic Party.
Now, you may have heard David Cardwell saying earlier that it was his belief that appeals filings had already been typed up and signed and were ready to go. They actually may be in the hands of some of those attorneys that have been filing past you. Any sign of those?
You can rest assured they all have their appellate papers ready, and that appeal will be filed as quick as a road runner can run across a field. It'll be very fast.
And how far do they have to go, Gary? What do they have to do?
They just have to go down one floor in this courthouse, and it will take them probably less than 2 minutes to get there from this office where they're having a meeting right now.
All right, well, stand by on the phone, Gary, if you would. That's wonderful insight, and we're grateful for it. But let's go out along the route to those other filings and talk to Mark Potter, who's been keeping an eye on things outside. Mark?
Well, Stephen, one thing that I can add to what the lawyers are saying is that not only were they nervous going in to hear the ruling, but they've also said that they're shell-shocked by this schedule. Lawyers are not used to working at this pace. The old line, "the wheels of justice turn slowly," does not apply here at the Leon County Courthouse at this point in our history. These lawyers have been going around the clock, from courtroom to courtroom, judge to judge, courthouse to courthouse, all with the weight of history very strongly on their shoulders, and they're exhausted. And they've talked about that, and they've even joked about how quickly they've had to do everything. They used to complain that the other side didn't get them their paperwork within the amount of days that they want to have it. Now everything is boiled down to minutes. And so they're walking around with a bit of a glazed look in their eyes, knowing that as tough as it has been so far, it won't stop because of the appeals that are inevitable in this case. So it's been tough. One day the trial went from this courthouse was operating from 7 in the morning till 12:30 the next morning, as they tried to get both of these cases done in as short amount of time as possible. Envision this: 2 complete trials dealing with historical material and complex facts completed in 2 days. And that's almost unheard of. And these lawyers are feeling the weight of that quite clearly. Back to you.
And Mark, many of these lawyers aren't even from Florida. Where have they been working out of? How hard have the logistics been for them in getting the work done and all the paperwork they have to do?
Well, for those of us who are not from Tallahassee, we can feel for them. It's kind of the same. They also, they're working out of offices either that they've hired or that they are associated with here. And this has been a grind. They're eating bad food. They're working hard. They're burning the midnight oil. And this is not an easy thing. And if you can imagine, I'm sitting here talking to you, and that's a very pleasant experience. They have to talk to the Supreme Court judges, and that's tough. And they've had to do it more than once, and then they go to the judges here at Leon County, at the Leon County Courthouse. It's not an easy thing, and those who are getting paid are earning their money.
Mark, thank you for those insights. Hang around for a minute if you would, please. Let's turn to Gary. Gary Tuchman, are you learning anything inside?
Stephen, the decision is about to be announced what they've done. They've told all the attorneys to stay put inside the office so the attorneys don't divulge what happened. The spokesmen for the court are now going down to the area where they said they would have a news conference, so they have had a little meeting to discuss how to do this so people wouldn't get the word outside the court administrator's office before the word is officially announced. So all the attorneys, probably 20 of them, are just sitting tight right now in an office while court spokesmen go down to the site to announce the decision, and it should be any minute.
That's what happens when they know Gary Tuchman's waiting outside the door. They pulled an end run around you, Gary.
Well, it's not just us anymore, Stephen. We were the only ones here earlier when it was supposed to happen earlier this afternoon, but now kind of everyone's up here, so I think they've made a decision to do it this way.
So the court spokesman is on what floor, and he's got to get to what floor now in this picture we're seeing here, Gary?
The court spokesman is on the 3rd floor. They're now walking down a winding stairwell to the 1st floor in order to make their decision. And hold on one second, guys.
While Gary's investigating, we can let you know that one of the comments made by the head of a legal team was that he wasn't even aware just how many attorneys were on these cases. There are so many of them down there right now. They haven't figured out how they're going to bill or whether all of them will be paid. Some of them are going to work apparently pro bono, but for an awful lot of lawyers, this is a very important time. Almost too many of them to count, almost too many of them to figure in right now.
And if you've been noticing in the shot we have here, that's Bill Hemmer standing there with the cell phone to his ear, and we're told that he can talk with us. Now, Bill, we see you in the wide shot. Any sign of the spokesman coming there yet?
Yeah, Natalie, I can tell you that we anticipate any moment Terry Cass and the others should be entering the room here. I don't know which camera you're talking about because there's about 40 of them lined up here in front of us. The room is extremely crowded, and certainly this is a highly anticipated ruling. Here come the administrators into the room right now, and as they move to the microphone, I shall be quiet and we listen.
Ms. Terry Cass, Court Administrator for the 2nd Judicial Circuit.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have a ruling in both the Seminole County case and the Martin County case. Based upon the evidence presented and in accord with the controlling legal precedent of the Florida Supreme Court, the trial courts in both the Seminole County case and the Martin County case have determined that despite irregularities in the request for absentee ballots, neither the sanctity of the ballots nor the integrity of the election has been compromised, and that the election results reflect a full and fair expression of the will of the voters. Accordingly, all relief requested by the plaintiffs has been denied and judgment entered for the defendants. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So there you have it, the same outcome in Seminole and Martin counties, a win for George W. Bush, a loss for the Democratic lawyers trying to get some 25,000 ballots thrown out in Seminole and Martin counties. That apparently is not going to happen. As you heard Terry Cass speaking for both the justices in Seminole and Martin counties, despite irregularities, the integrity of the election has not been compromised. That is